I've always said that the real relationship does not start until there's an actual disagreement. A disagreement about something that's important to you. It could range from your kids, from a previous relationship these days. It could be something as simple as a TV show, your favorite TV show that you missed. It could be a comment or a gesture that your mate issued that you didn't particularly like. But the real relationship doesn't start until after the smitten phase, after the initial attraction, after the yes, dear, whatever you say, dear, phase. And that disagreement kicks in, and something could be said or done that could make you go off. Back in the 80s, we had a phrase, going off, and we used it to mean something good in sports. He went off for 20 points, or he got off for 50 points. It was a good thing. But in a relationship, going off could be detrimental. It's not one of those things that you look forward to, but who you really are and the health of your relationship is predicated on which part of your brain takes over and runs the show during those moments that probably ordinarily would set you off. Now, there's a science to how this works, and the neurological, the general information pertaining to the physiology of the brain and how it works is that there's actually a part of your brain that's being turned off. It is that prefrontal cortex, which is the area that's responsible for your judgment and rationalization. It gets turned off by the amygdala, which is the part of the brain that's responsible for anger. Now, this was good back in the days of the hunters and gatherers, where if you were about to be eaten alive by a saber-toothed tiger, all of this adrenaline gets released and dopamine gets released, and you are in fight or flight mode. This, however, is not very useful when you're in a public place or in the comfort and sanctity of your own home, in the bedroom or the kitchen or your living room, and all of this neurological explosion begins to occur, and your muscles and heart rate begins to intensify and accelerate, and the next thing you know, you're going off. So women tell me, they say, Jay, I need a man who can handle me. And I say, what do you mean? Well, I have a tendency to go off. I can get ignorant. Actually, they say I can get ignorant, which I think is worse than ignorant. But for the sake of this conversation, let's just say ignorant. Now, we know by definition, ignorant gives way to lacking knowledge, awareness. It's somehow associated with being uneducated or unsophisticated. And we know that you are none of those things, because when we met, you were very knowledgeable, you were fully aware, you're obviously educated, you have the degrees to prove it, and you act very sophisticated until there's something that happens or there's something that is said that could set you off. You said you had to go off on your last boyfriend, or you went off on your ex-husband. Now, the new person that you meet and come in contact with doesn't necessarily know what that means until you go off on him. But please know that your relationship starts and could possibly stop at the same place where you go off. And so my suggestion to you is, if there's anything that you want to start to take a look at, is how you respond, which part of your brain takes over during those moments that typically could set you off, because this is where the complete evaluation of the health of your relationship, or your ability to be in a healthy relationship, it could all rest in the same place. What sets you off? Which part of the brain runs the show? You have to get control over that mechanism, because again, more powerful than I love you is good judgment. And when you're not utilizing good judgment, then you do things that either you regret or it could cause irreparable damage. So sometimes you call it keeping it real or keeping it 100. Well, that's not always a good idea. Don't keep it 100. Keep it somewhere around, I don't know, 50 or 60, where everybody can deal with you a little bit. But that's going to totally depend on how you practice and how you rehearse your response to things that could possibly set you off. In other words, don't go off. Stay on. Stay on your P's and Q's. And I know it sounds simple on the front end, but it's very possible and it's very necessary. If you do meet Mr. Right, and once you get past the smitten love phase, it's not if, but when you come across that conversation or that moment that would ordinarily set you off, remember, the relationship starts and stops at the very same place, the place